What's going on, everybody? It's Shamar here, back again with round 2, game 2 of the Toronto 2015 regionals that was held at Legends Warehouse in Vaughan. This is the second game featuring Mikhail against Matt K, two players that made it to the top 8 round. So we've got Mikhail playing Blue Sun on the corp side and Matt playing my favorite, Noise, on the right. So Mikhail opens up immediately with the quick hedge fund for his first click, installs over R&D, and installs a card in a remote. Matt takes a sure gamble, installs an immediate grimoire. Oh my god, I wish I could get these starts, jeez. And this was after a mulligan for Matt and no mulligan for Mikhail, by the way. Installs the imp that comes in with 3 counters this time. And again, that's because of imp. Sorry, because of grimoire. Runs at HQ and decides to imp the NAPD rather than spend the $4 for it. Couldn't agree more with that decision. You don't really want to steal agendas against Wayland when you don't have much money or cards in hand. So imping an agenda is always a good idea. In that case, you don't want to imp an agenda when you're at game point. So it's install of Jackson. Sorry, res Jackson, uses Jackson, and installs a card. So we've got the cash install, net gain of 3 because of grimoire. Milling another card. Sorry, 2 cards because he did forget to mill the card for imp. Didn't even realize that. So it's a Jackson draw. Jackson draw again. Was about to play a card, decides against it, and finally installs in the remote a new remote, and has to drop down. So you got to think he's baiting that imp run here. So first click runs at Jackson into a Caduceus. So there's going to be a trace here to gain his 3 credits back for res and Caduceus, which Mathew opts not to break. And now we've got a trace for the end the run subroutine. Mathew pays 2 to get through it, only to have Mikhail pop his Jackson. So he brings back the face up NAPD, 1 face down card, and a second face down card, which are going to be reshuffled into his deck. Smart play there. You wait until the runner has done everything he has to do, pay the money, get through the traces, then you pop the Jackson. So he installs a Gravedigger here that's going to mill another card off of R&D once Mikhail's done shuffling. And furthermore, Gravedigger comes in with a token that allows a second mill due to grimoire. So there's the mill for the grimoire, sorry, for the Gravedigger install. And so they're just counting clicks here. Last click to run that new remote. Oh man, I knew that was going to be a bait there. So he runs into the Cyberdex, which when it's accessed by the runner, all virus counters are purged. So he loses that Gravedigger, he loses his 2 imp tokens, and now has 3 pretty much useless cards on the table until Aesop's pawn shop gets out. I figured that was some sort of bait there. So it's a new install. Originally in the Caduceus server, decides to push it out. And takes it back, actually. goes for the archive install of curtain wall and oversight AI to immediately res the curtain wall over archives. Huge deterrent for noise. And then installs back into that Caduceus server. Awesome sportsmanship by Matt, allowing that to happen. As you would expect in a Netrunner tournament, everyone is typically very, very gentlemanly and doesn't mind if you make a mistake and take it back. So run into R&D, hits an Enigma, forcing a lost click. Mikhail takes back that curtain wall to gain the money off of it, using that Blue Sun ability. Installs a nether card over archives. Oversights the curtain wall again for a second time, trying to get that early money lead. Reses Jackson and uses Jackson. It sucks when Blue Sun has all of this money early, because then you get very, very scared to steal an agenda. You don't want to steal it because of the chance that you could get traced and double scorched. So C-Source double scorch, or steal a 3-pointer by accident and get three punitives in a row. So that limits the options for Matt at this point. Down 18 credits to 1, but still 0-0. So still anybody's game. So Matt installs the Data Sucker going broke, but having a token on it due to Grimoire. Clicks for 2 credits. And drops a Zoo Keymaster. I think I missed a click there. 2 credits. Data Sucker. So again, Mikhail takes back that curtain wall for all the monies. Installs what I assume is curtain wall again over archives. Double ices R&D. And hits the hedge fund because you know he needs more money. 31 credits wasn't enough. Need to get up to that 35 mark. So HQ Run reses a toll booth. Archives Run hits a hive with all of its subs because there are no agendas scored. So I believe that's 5 and the runs. 5 and the runs for $5. Such value. Great value. You can buy a Hive Ice at Walmart. So Noise at this point just has to take some money. Draw a couple manual cards. Flips turn back over to Blue Sun, who's hitting Jackson. And installs what looks to be a scoring server. Actually, it's a little bit thin. I'm going to go ahead and say that that is likely an Adonis server. I tend not to watch these matches beforehand, just to keep everything authentic. So I think my best guess is that that isn't a scoring server. I'm thinking that it's an Adonis. So he runs at that newly created remote server. Oh man, there's the curtain wall that we lost track of. So I don't think Adonis would be hiding behind that. So we've got the install of David. Into Adonis. Okay, I was right. So installs David, runs at that curtain wall, uses a David token, or all of David's tokens, because David is able to break subs on ice with 5 strength or greater. So that is the Adonis server. I was right. It looks like he's going to play bumper cars with that Adonis. Android bumper cars. So anyone that doesn't know, Blue Sun, you res the Adonis at the end of the runner's turn. Take the 3 credits. Then at the beginning of your turn, you bump the Adonis back to your hand to take all the monies and laugh as you sit in a misterly pose. But this time he elects not to do that, so he's going to wait a little bit before he starts playing the Android bumper cars, because Noise currently has no money, so he couldn't trash it even if he wanted to. And it's very unlikely that he would click up to 3, run it, and trash anyways, and go bankrupt again. So Mikhail opts to leave that out, installs a naked card, and advances it. Interesting. Gotta assume that's NAPD there. So install advanced NAPD. You know your opponent's broke. If they run it, they won't be able to steal it. So clicks twice, installs clone chip. Or draw, click twice, install clone chip. And that is NAPD, of course. The agenda that you typically don't want to score yourself as the corp, but if your opponent gives you the opportunity, you might as well. And if you have the money to blow on it. So that's the 4-cost 2-point agenda. Turn goes back to Noise. Takes a draw. Clicks for 2 credits and installs a Mimic, going bankrupt again. So there's another $3 off of the Adonis. Bumps the Adonis back to hand to take 4 more. Android bumper cars. Oh, MU issue. Actually, no MU issue, but he installs Mimic over the David that was just sitting there doing nothing. Grimoire is +2 memory, so Noise has 6 MU to play with. He had 6 cards out, so he was fine. So that's a install into the remote, install outside of the remote. One of those is going to be Adonis campaign. Gotta love those sexy beepers. I don't know, do Americans call Adonis Bieber, or is that just a Canadian thing? Sexy Justin Biebers. I've had worse. Pretty rough here. Bankrupt against Blue Sun. Takes a credit to install cash. Yep. Net gain of 3. I believe that she should only be at 3 credits, no? So he took a credit, installs cash. So we should be at 3. Unless it looks like they might have counted a click for taking another credit then to make up for that. So that leaves him at 4 because he was he did draw. He was broke, drew into that cash, took a credit, installed cash. No, I think that's off there. So we've got the Adonis res and bump back to hand. Might as well take 3 credits for free when you can. So it's triple advance and scores, putting up 4-0. We've got the wild side install. Coming a bit late here, and this is always the problem that I seem to encounter when I'm playing noise, is that there will be games when you draw into your wild side or Aesops very, very early, and then you can keep the pressure up and work that way. You got the money to float around and do things. And then there's other games where you're just stuck in a drought, can't really find the money to do anything. Every time you install a card, you're going next to bankrupt. So now it's going to be a tough situation for Matt because, one, he doesn't really have too much money, so whatever he does draw off that wild side draw, it's going to be hard for him to install it. And two, because he doesn't have adjusted chronotype out yet, he's going to be working with 3 clicks now, already down 4-0. So it's a pretty rough situation, and something that a lot of noise players have to, I guess, be able to come back from or not tilt when a situation like this arises. So that scoring remote gets double iced. And a double install. So Matt clicks up, plays a sure gamble, ends his turn at 9 credits. Hopefully sees the adjusted chronotype so that he can start to apply some pressure here. And that's another triple advance and score, going up 6-0, sitting at 26 credits for Blue Sun. Archives run forces the Jackson to get popped. And it's looking like 3 face downs here. No? Okay. So it's going to be 3 face down. I believe he just put all of his face up cards away already. Nope. 2 face down, 1 face up, oversight AI. Just in case he needs some more money. Cyber Feeder install. And an install of Clot. At least this way, there's no immediate threat of a Biotic being played. But I really don't think this deck has Biotic in it. Clot just seems in this case to be a way to use that Cyber Feeder credit immediately and mill an extra card off of R&D. And then we have a Data Sucker install, bringing his MU up to 6. Comes in with a token due to Grimoire. The Blue Sun bump, taking money back. The BSB, the Blue Sun bump. Install and advance. options at this point, very limited for noise. Installs a clone chip. And just decides to take money. Runs at that remote, hits a curtain wall. Looks like a clone chip David. Has enough to afford it. Yep, clone chips the David, has to get rid of a card. Drops the Imp. Oh man, into a second curtain wall. That is rough. And now it appears that Blue Sun's Broken might not be able to advance that card and win, but you gotta remember the ability. So he takes that curtain wall back to hand for his 10 bucks, and then triple advances the NAPD for the win.